A challenger approaches. Fight, item, or run?
Fight.
Alright, what move would you like to do?
My up special.
Fantastic, you've defeated the challenger. This is a
Yes!
Smash... This is a Smash Brothers podcast. I'm your co-host, Sterling.
I am your other co-host, William.
And we are finally really going to get into the swing of things. The last couple episodes were a little more centered around the upcoming Smash Brothers release, which I am still very excited for, but I think this time we're going to divert a little and we're going to talk about our feelings on some of the further back history of Smash Brothers. But before then, we're going to talk about newcomers that we would like to see.
It's your turn to go first this time.
It sure is, and I have a suggestion that at the end of the last episode I discovered would not in fact be happening for this Smash Brothers title, but I do think it's a character that should appear in some Smash Brothers title going forward, and that would be Tom Nook from the Animal Crossing series.
Okay.
So just a little background on Animal Crossing and Tom Nook. Animal Crossing is one of Nintendo's largest franchises in terms of sales, popularity, demand. It's takes a lot of development time, is advertised very heavily. It's one of Nintendo's biggest franchises.
No objection here, yeah. I mean, it is now.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily when it was introduced, but it never is, you know? It's not like Miyamoto invented Donkey Kong and was like, this plumber boy, he's going to be my big boy. He's going to be very profitable for me.
Right.
You know? So Tom Nook himself has been in the Animal Crossing series since the very first title, Dobutsuna Mori, on the Nintendo 64. Or, you know, Animal Forest, if you're not a fucking weeaboo like me. Tom Nook is the proprietor of, well, when you start the game, it's Nook's Cranny, but as you support it, it grows. It's the town's general store. He sells furniture, tools, seeds, you know, anything.
Paper, too.
Paper.
Can't forget the paper, that's the best product.
You know, I can and will forget the paper.
Okay, well, your loss.
Tom Nook's other major profession is landlord. He sells you a home. He essentially puts you in debt in order to give you a place to live, which, like, on the one hand, a lot of people have vilified him for. He's made it onto a lot of, like, worst scumbags in gaming lists, you know? But all in all, he's really a quite nice fellow. He's, you know, he puts you in debt in order to get you to not be homeless. And he never really pushes you to pay that debt.
I don't know if his motives are so altruistic. I would say puts you in debt so he can make money. I don't think Tom Nook really cares when you're homeless.
I mean, do you see anyone in the Animal Crossing world as homeless?
No, but then they always had their houses built. Like, they always had a legitimate house. I assume they had money. I mean, even when someone first moves into a new town, they're not like us. They actually have a sizable house with some furniture, so they've got money. They aren't hobos like us when we first roll into town.
Right.
Like, the only thing we can assume is the villager is just a hobo. Homeless. Bumming it out.
Sure. And Tom Nook, despite the fact that this person he's just met has no money, he just gives them a place to live and says, pay me back when you can. That's pretty nice.
I mean, there's an argument to be made he totally overcharges for the house.
I mean, look, I'm not going to go into the exchange rate of bells to dollars, but it's probably a pretty cheap fucking house. The point being that Animal Crossing, or that Tom Nook is a very important character to Animal Crossing, and actually, fun fact for those of you who may not have been in the Smash community so long, prior to Brawl, Tom Nook was actually seen as one of the most plausible characters. A lot of people didn't see much potential in the Animal Crossing villager, or Animal Crosser, as he was sometimes called, before he had a canon name. But Tom Nook was sort of seen as a little more action-oriented for whatever reason. A lot of people assumed he had goons. He never really showed goons, besides his nephews, I guess. But part of why I'm bringing Tom Nook this time is because of his moveset potential. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more interested I am in seeing Tom Nook as a Smash Brothers fighter. One of the core things about Animal Crossing is furniture, is decorating your house. And while the villager does have pockets full of goodies, it's mostly carryable goodies. Tools, sticks, umbrellas. He has, like, a bowling ball, which isn't really a thing in Animal Crossing at all. But he doesn't have, like, a chair or a lamp, you know? The closest thing, I guess, would be a potted plant. But, like, those are also, like, planted in Animal Crossing. They're not put into your house, necessarily. So, Tom Nook, as the, he sells houses and furnishes them. And he's also a tanuki, which is a mythical Japanese creature known for its, among other things, like their very large balls. Tanuki are known for their ability to transmute objects, specifically into leaves, which is where Animal Crossing gets, like, when you pick up any piece of furniture in Animal Crossing, rather than just being a chair in your inventory, it's represented as a leaf until you put it down. And as far as a moveset goes, I think that's the starting point. Have Tom Nook, like, throw leaves that in midair transform into furniture. So, like, for his down smash, he, like, throws a pair of leaves to either side of him, and one of them turns into a sofa and the other one turns into a privacy screen, you know. Or for his forward air, he, like, throws a leaf at speed, and in midair, as it's spinning, it turns into a lamp.
Oh my god, yes.
So, like,
yes.
What this would do is give his moves, like, a lot of power at range and make them kind of weaker up close, which is kind of an interesting gameplay dynamic. Also, if some of the moves have sort of a random selection of furniture that they can be, since Animal Crossing has so much furniture, it would feel pointless to include only some of it and not a lot of it. I think it would be fun to give him a little bit of unpredictability, to sort of reflect, you know, how every day that you go to Nook's Cranny or Nookington's, the furniture selection is different.
Okay. That's thought out.
Yeah. Some other things that he could do, I mean, he could take Villager's current Final Smash, have him, you know, build a home around you, since obviously in order for him to be included, Villager's Final Smash would probably have to be changed. I could also see him using some tail swipes to reference Super Mario Bros. 3, given that he is also a Tanuki. I could even see him using Timmy and Tommy, his nephews, for some attacks. Have them kind of like little Pikmin or something for him.
I don't know.
But that's a kind of a stretch. Yeah.
Maybe they could be his Toad.
Sure, yeah. Like, not in every move, you know.
No.
I mean, what else? Like, there's so much that you can do with Tom Nook that I'm not even thinking of. Have him swing around a big bag of bells. You know? He's got that money-grubbing
Well,
archetype.
I would object to that, because my newcomer, that's more her speed, but we'll get to that later. I would also point out... Yes. I would also point out the tools. Villager doesn't use all the tools.
You're right. There is one specific tool, I would say, that the villager is missing, and Tom Nook does sell the tools, and he would be definitely able to use the tools, possibly even in a different way than villager does, and I would be fine with seeing that as well. Yeah.
So
there's
you're
a lot
thinking
you
of
can
the
do
fishing
with
rod.
Well, yeah, the fishing rod.
There's the megaphone, too. Yeah.
Man, like, who cares about a megaphone, though?
Well, you can make an attack out of it.
Ah, that's the attack.
Oh well.
Just, just yelling.
You mentioned that he not only sells the houses, but he supplies the furnishings, and
Hmm.
then he also, as of New Leaf, runs the Happy Home building.
Absolutely true.
He's got a total monopoly on the housing market, like every aspect of
He
it.
he completely does. That was the point I was getting at earlier when you were like, well, everyone who comes into the town has a house. They get their houses from Tom Nook because Tom Nook is the guy who sells houses.
Right.
Actually, as of New Leaf, he no longer operates the Nook stores. He's bequeathed that business venture to his nephews in order
Not a
to
change I
pursue the
approved
housing
of.
market. I kind of agree, but then again, they did also introduce Cyrus and Reese and the retail store as being even more where you typically go for furniture, which, like, okay. I like alpacas, they're cute.
It had a different function. Like they customized your furniture. That was mainly what the purpose was, right?
Right, yeah.
So yeah, we ready for
Uh,
my newcomer?
yeah, absolutely, go right ahead.
My newcomer, you may have guessed, is Anna from Fire Emblem. One of my more wanted newcomers. Yes. So
Oh,
not a bag of bells, but a bag of coins maybe you could
right.
incorporate.
I'm into it.
Yeah, so Anna, for those of you who don't know, she is the only Fire Emblem character who is in virtually every game in the franchise. She might have missed one or two, but outside of that, she's made an appearance in every game. They aren't always major appearances. She has, for the most part, been relegated to either the shopkeep or like the menu navigation mascot. But as of lately, all the modern Fire Emblem games include her as a playable character, kind of like a secret unlock late in the game or a DLC character. And she's gotten a lot of popularity over the recent years. She is one of the main characters in Fire Emblem Heroes, the mobile app, and I think it's time for her to get into Smash. The cool thing about Anna, moveset potential wise, is that she can use damn near every weapon that a Fire Emblem character doesn't use. Right.
Hmm.
So we mostly just have swords users, and then there's Robin with his little magic tomes. What can Anna do? She can use staves, she can use bows, she can use lances, axes, ballistae, kind of a subcategory of bows, but still. She's got a lot of different moveset potentials.
Now, it is worth noting here that no single Anna uses all of these things. These are all different Annas in different games have different weapons. The Fire Emblem Heroes Anna is the one that uses an axe. The Fire Emblem Awakening Anna uses, I believe, swords and
11 sword.
bows. The Levin sword is her signature weapon, which Robin already wields.
It's sword and stabs in Awakening, and then in Fates it's a bow and a
Okay.
staff. But she has
Right,
class
right.
changes, and Merchant Anna, which is what she is, she's a merchant. That class uses
Hmm.
axes, lances, and staves. So if you really had to be
Okay.
totally canon, you could at least do that, which represents three weapons that aren't in the game yet. But there's no
Right.
reason it has to be bound like that. I think you could easily incorporate all sorts of different weapons. Canon be
Oh,
damned.
I agree, especially because, like, as the merchant, she's the one selling all these weapons. It's kind of the same logic as Tom Nook, using the things that he sells.
Yeah, we both chose merchants. What are the odds?
I guess we gotta get that money.
Yeah. So I think here's the thing. I like the one of the more important aspects of Fire Emblem is the weapon durability system. Robin's
Hmm.
moveset sort of incorporated that, but it was weird because like the tomes ran out after a certain amount of use, which makes sense, and you had to
Right.
wait a while for them to come back. Then the Levin sword didn't quite work that way. It was like after a certain amount of time or damage you inflict, it goes between the bronze and Levin sword. It's confusing. I think that repping that system could be handled better. So with Anna, I'm thinking her aerials are going to be bow attacks. Her smash
Okay.
attacks are going to be her using the axe. Her tilts
Makes
are going to
sense.
have her using her spear, the tilts and jabs and normal attacks like that. And we'll discuss the
Hmm.
specials later. But for these normal attacks, she can shift between her bronze, iron, and steel axes. Those are basically the three level of weapons. in Fire Emblem. And
Sure.
the way it works in Fire Emblem is the lower the level, the higher the durability. So, say if she uses a bunch of smash attacks, it'll be at the bronze stage early on. But then, as time goes on, eventually, once you break that weapon, it goes on to the iron, and you'll have less use for it. It'll break quicker,
Okay.
but it's still stronger. And then it'll move on to the steel version, and you don't have many uses with that, so you really have to make it count and strategize. But it's the strongest version of the weapon. It'll deal a good deal of damage, and then once that breaks, you're back to bronze. So that's how that works.
Hmm.
So you have that system working.
Now,
Oop.
so Anna does have like signature versions of all these weapons. You're suggesting that she would not use her like signature axe or her signature bow?
Um, did she have a signature axe in Heroes? I know she had her
Yeah.
signature bow, and I was thinking of incorporating that into her final smash
Okay.
rather than the normal moveset, because I think that simplicity is better. I thought about maybe incorporating 4 levels into the durability system and having those unique weapons,
Right.
but that's just too convoluted, I think. I think
The
3 is the way to go. Bronze, iron, steel.
Noatun.
Huh?
Noatun is the name of Anna's signature axe in Heroes. It's her personal regalia weapon.
Okay,
I think exclusive to her.
gotcha. I think the bronze, iron, and steel system, though, just better reps the franchise, and
Yeah,
it makes for a
like
simpler moveset.
it does make sense. I can see it.
Right. So her special attacks,
Yeah. Tell me about those specials.
the only one that's truly, truly unique is the up special, which is going to be her warp staff. Now, the obvious
Hmm.
application is to warp herself somewhere, which she can do, but the trick is you can also warp other enemies and items using it. So
Sweet.
like you would hold it in the air and you'd have a beam of light that you can like move around the stage a little bit around you. And then once you let go of that button, if there's a item or a player in that area, they'll be warped and you can like
Hmm.
navigate them where to be warped to and which direction.
That sounds kind of difficult to control. Honestly, I think it would make like I was envisioning a little more that there would be like a sigil on the ground beneath her that's like sort of a larger circle, and anything that's like immediately next to her would be teleported with her.
You could go that round, but that's not really how it works in the games. There is like
Fair.
you do
It's
think of it like the square, the grid system you have, where you have to
mm,
choose which grid to act on. It would work more like that.
okay. It's just that like as a recovery move, I think it would make um like something that is a little more complex in terms of control would probably not work so well as a recovery.
I think that you could have a system where maybe in the air she automatically warps herself, but then on the ground you
Okay.
have more of the control. So that you don't have
I
to
believe I
waste
can see it.
time if you're desperate and have to get back on the stage.
Right.
Or even if you didn't do it that way, I would say that's still similar to like Ness or Lucas's PK Thunder. Like you just freeze in
Right.
place and you have to navigate and use a little trickery to get back on.
Yeah. I mean, Ness and Lucas have difficult to use recoveries, so like I'm not saying
Right.
it's not impossible for a character to have something like that. Ness and Lucas also have really good double jumps.
Right. For her neutral special, I don't know, maybe this is going too far. Like I feel like for these other specials you could have basic attacks using her 3 weapons, like the up specials, the warp staff, and then you could also incorporate the axe, the lance, and the bow into the specials and have that factor into the durability system. But an
Right.
alternate way of doing things, her neutral special could be her bag of goodies or the bag of gold. And I think that
Okay.
as you go on throughout the match, maybe you could convert items to gold, or as you do damage to foes, you could add gold to your bag. And as you make the bag larger, you can use it as more of a potent weapon when you use your neutral
Okay.
special to beat people down with. But that's like a second move set almost that you would have based
A
around
little.
that. Like I don't think you'd need to incorporate it in the weapon durability system.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
That's. I
I
mean.
mean I could go over what her side, neutral, and down special would be with the 3 weapons, but it's not important. Like, it wouldn't be unique.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think that out of the possible Fire Emblem characters, like, Anna is one of the more preferable options. I definitely like her
One
design.
of? One
I
of,
mean,
Sterling? One of?
yeah, there.
No.
She has some competition.
Yeah, but,
Um,
like, there's
I
nobody...
would be, I would be about as happy to see Anna as I would be to see Tiki. Which is to say, I would still think that's too many Fire Emblem characters.
Okay, fair, but Tiki doesn't
Uh,
bring as much to the table. Like, she has the whole dragon transformation thing going on, and she do it a little bit differently from Corrin, but still,
right.
Corrin has that going on. Like, it's just, there's
Yeah,
not as much point. She doesn't bring as much.
I, I don't like Corrin. I would rather have Tiki
Me
than Corrin.
neither, me too, but, like, now that we're
Yeah.
stuck with
And
Corrin,
like
I can't get
Tiki is
behind her.
another Tiki's another character from Fire Emblem who is like a recurring character, which like
Not to
is
nearly the
not
same extent as Anna, I would point out. She
yeah,
shows up in a
but
few games.
it's generally not a common thing in Fire Emblem, um, which I mean makes it notable for both of them. And like I mean Marth and Ike too also have that a little. I mean, both of them run into the issue of not being the main characters of their
That
games.
is sadly, sadly true.
But then again,
Anna is the main character of Heroes, at least as far as non-OC characters go.
yeah, like Anna is one of the major characters in Heroes, and that's that's pretty good points in her favor. She's also like in Warriors quite a bit. She gets she's not a major playable, but she appears throughout the game and then is like the final secret character or something, right?
She is indeed that, yes, extremely hard to unlock.
That's I mean that's cool. That's a cool thing that's a cool like honor for her to have.
In Smash, she could be
Um
the final secret character, the final unlockable.
I could see it. I think the role that I would like most for Anna is if she was in the trophy shop selling you trophies. That'd be funny.
That pissed me off.
Actually, it'd be fun if like a bunch of different merchant characters assumed that role. Like every time you go into the trophy
Yeah.
shop to buy some trophies, like it could be Anna, or it could be Tom Nook, or it could be um
Beetle.
Beetle. Yes,
Yes.
Toadsworth.
Oh! Toadsworth. Toadsworth isn't
Yeah,
a
sure.
merchant.
He could be.
No. That's totally... No! No.
Okay, fair.
No. Yeah.
Um, so is that our characters? Are we talking about Super Smash Brothers now? I guess we were
I
already
feel like
talking
there
about
was one
Smash
last
Brothers.
point on Anna I wanted to bring up, but
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
You know what? When you remember it later into the episode, just blurt it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can move on.
Alright. So, for this episode, we wanted to talk about the history of the Smash Brothers series. Specifically, we wanted to talk about the first 2 Smash games and our thoughts on them, our feelings on the franchise's roots. Have you ever played Smash 64?
Yes. I can tell you a quick story about that. I played Melee and Brawl
Sure.
first. After the fact...
Okay, go ahead.
After playing Melee and Brawl, me and my brothers were really into it, particularly my little brother and me. I looked at Smash 64. I could tell just from watching videos of it that this was a demo of Smash Bros, basically. Like, I wasn't going to waste my money on it, even though we had a Nintendo 64 and got a bunch of classic games on it. But my little brother was dead set, because he was really little, he wouldn't listen to reason. You know, I'm telling him, look, don't get this game. It's expensive to get a copy nowadays, and it's just not worth it because it's not going to be as much fun. There's barely any characters, barely any stages. The move sets are like much smaller. The item selection isn't there. You're not going to have fun with it. And he's like, no, I'm going to get Smash Bros. Anyway. I want to play it. And I'm like, Thomas, I'm telling you. And he's like, I'm not listening to you. So he actually does eventually track down the game, and he buys a copy of it. And I swear, he played it for like half an hour.
Right.
before he gave up on it and was like, "Well, this is so much worse. I can't believe I got it. Why is?" And he's like, he doesn't understand game development, so he's like, "Why would they make this? Why would they make this if it's so bare bones?" And I'm like, "Well, that's like the best they could do at the time with the resources they had." But like I
Okay.
probably played 2 or 3 matches in that game. Probably not much more.
Right. I mean, my experiences are fairly similar. My first Smash game was Melee, which, like, I got with my GameCube, which was, like, a godsend, basically.
Yes.
Later on, like, I never actually owned Smash Brothers 64, but I did, like, I have, known people who've owned it. I've played it at their place, and it's always kind of underwhelmed me. It's like, there's a lot that it did to, you know, make Smash Brothers what it is. It was the first Smash Brothers game, um, but it was also like I could forgive like a small roster, a small stage roster, but the gameplay just was not finished yet. It did not
Yeah, like
have
you don't even
the Smash Brothers move pool. It did not have,
right. I don't think it
gameplay.
even had side specials. I think the
It did.
neutral and
It
side were the same.
had no side specials. I do not think that it had any air dodging. This is not a situation where it's like,
Ugh.
is there directional air dodging or spot air dodging? No, there was just no air dodging at all.
Yeah, like I would say every Smash has some sort of reason for you to go back and play it and maybe have some fun out of it, except for 64. Like there's just no reason to ever go back to it.
I, I mean, like,
Nostalgia's sake and maybe for the like experience for half an hour, but
right, like it has historical significance. I would say like if you have never played Smash 64, like it's important to play in order to gain some perspective on Smash Brothers. Um, but also like if you're just looking to have some smashy fun, like play Melee Brawl or Smash 4 or really just any other Smash game
and even if you're
is
curious
preferable.
about it, get it on an emulator. Like don't waste your money.
Right. I mean, it's available on the Wii U Virtual Console, right? I guess it's not available on the Wii
I
Virtual
mean, I
Console
still wouldn't
anymore because
recommend
that's
that.
shut down.
I wouldn't recommend spending
Yeah,
any
but
money on it.
like, I mean, I wouldn't endorse illegal emulation on our podcast, but
Me neither. I was just kidding. Download it from the Nintendo eShop,
yeah,
kids. Yes.
just a joke that was very funny. Ha ha
Yes.
ha ha ha.
Anyway,
Okay, so like part of the reason I think that Smash Brothers 64 is so bare bones is that it had such a short development time. It actually like
and a
started
small budget.
development. Well, yeah. Um, back in 1998, Masahiro Sakurai, among other people, with Satoru Iwata, and like it was apparently like the size of an NES games development team, which like given the N64 is such more sophisticated technology, like the days where one or two people can make like a whole video game have passed. You know,
Yep.
uh, at least a fully fledged 3D one. I guess like Cave Story was made by one dude.
Stardew Valley was too, but
Yeah,
that still looks like it
these
came from
are
this time period. Yeah.
passion projects that took years and years and still ended up looking like 2D
SNES
Super
games.
Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so the original prototype was called, and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Kakuto Gimu Ryu, which translates to Dragon King, the fighting game. Um, and the original demo of that, the original like basis, had generic faceless, man bodies as playable characters. Uh, the current theory is that those bodies were recycled into Captain Falcon and Samus's and later Ganondorf's movesets. Uh,
Never heard about
which
Samus.
I mean, Samus and Captain Falcon share a skeleton and several moves in Smash 64.
Okay. I didn't know that. All right.
Yep. In fact, all of the unlockable characters in Smash 64 were chosen because they were able to be made out of partially reused content. Let's see. During an interview Sakurai did for Fire Emblem's 25th anniversary, when discussing one of the characters that did not make the cut into Super Smash Bros. 64, Sakurai said, "Well, I wanted to include Marth in the original Smash Bros. Game as a sword-wielding character, but for Smash 64 there were some features we barely finished in time, and the 4 hidden characters were created only on the premise of being able to reuse some movements and parts of the models of pre-existing characters, so in the end Marth couldn't make it in." Which, like, given that, things like the Fighting Polygon team make it fairly obvious that, Ness uses Mario and Luigi's skeleton. Luigi is basically a clone of Mario. Jigglypuff is, partially based on Kirby, and Captain Falcon is partially based on Samus.
Right.
Or vice versa, given the status of Captain Falcon as resembling the
budget.
Dragon King character. Absolutely. It was such... I mean... So after he had this prototype, the concept for like a 4-player battle royale fighting game, which he, Sakurai was a big fan of fighting games at the time. He loved Street Fighter, but he realized that they were not really successful, and he wanted to do something a little more unique. And in an attempt to do that, he decided, even without having gotten Nintendo's sanction yet, he didn't even inform anyone at Nintendo of this fact. He implemented Mario, Donkey Kong, Samus, and Fox as playable characters in order to present the prototype to Nintendo. He came to Nintendo with this demo where he's already got Mario, DK, Samus, and Fox working perfectly. He's like, now listen here, Nintendo. I'm going to pitch you a Nintendo-based fighting game where all of your greatest heroes kick the shit out of each other.
Right.
And somehow Nintendo was like, yeah, okay, here's $10. Finish this game.
Not a lot of faith, but yeah.
Right.
And that's how the biggest gaming crossover of all time was created.
That really is it.
I would point out Satoru Iwata also helped develop the prototype.
Right, yeah. I
Sakurai.
mean, he was like one of the major development helps. He was like very involved in the project.
Right, gotta give credit where it's due. Yep. Rip Iwata. You will be missed. So anyway, before we get too downer, does that about cover the history of it?
I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. That's, how Smash Brothers was made.
And the legendary commercial.
Oh my god, that commercial. Me and you. And you and, me.
And me. Like the listeners, they know what we're talking about. We don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
I mean, see that commercial.
Just fucking that punch though. Boom. Ah.
They need to recycle that. They need to reuse that or something similar.
I definitely would love to see a Smash Brothers Ultimate commercial where it's just a bunch of people in mascot costumes.
Like that's what it should be, not this bullshit settle it and smash nonsense.
So do you want to talk about the roster? I think what we should do here is talk about what the roster ended up being and our feelings on the characters that were chosen and whether or not they were fitting. And then we can talk about what we might have done a little differently. The choices we could have made. So Smash Bros. 64 only has a few characters, 12 in total. At the start of the game, you've got Mario, who I think we can agree should be there.
Bullshit. No place. No, but yeah.
Right.
Most obvious choice.
Yeah. Mario's moveset, interestingly, was sort of based on Ryu's. The three special moves that Mario had were a fireball, an uppercut, and a spin attack, which were definitely based on specifically Super Mario World for the spin attack, given his
Mhm.
spin jump in that game. Um, but, like, those are all things that Mario has done since the NES. But they were also things that are Ryu's most recognizable abilities: his Hadouken, Shoryuken, and Tatsubaki Senpyu Kick.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Street Fighter, so I know Hadouken and that's it.
Right. I mean, Ryu is in Smash. Do you just not know his moveset?
Yeah, I don't play as much,
Me
and he's a
neither.
DLC character, so I didn't play him much early on.
Right.
Whatever.
Um, we've also got Donkey Kong, who is clearly based on his Donkey Kong Country design rather than his other designs from the
Again,
past.
like you can't dispute it. The Donkey Kong Country games were huge, like
Right.
landmark platformers. No point arguing there.
Absolutely. There's also Link from The Legend of Zelda, whose design is based on Ocarina of Time, even though that game had not released when Smash 64 was made initially, which is why some of his moves are a little strange. Like, uh, this is an adult Ocarina of Time Link using the boomerang, which he never did in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, but whatever. At least it aged well, sort of.
Yeah.
The boomerang
Um,
sticked around.
And I mean, Link definitely warrants a spot. There's no reason not to have Link.
Absolutely.
We've also got Samus Aran making her only appearance on the Nintendo 64.
What a travesty. What
Yeah, it's,
happened?
Metroid keeps skipping generations.
I mean, I guess.
What happened is that Metroid is successful in the West and significantly less successful over in Japan. Um, but like
Uh,
also like Metroid is one of Nintendo's biggest IP, and it's been around since the Famicom Disk System. And I can't imagine not having Samus in Smash.
yeah, there was gonna be a supposed Metroid 64, but that game was floated around as an idea, but it actually never entered production.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, like the number of Metroid games that never entered production. I mean, when the hell are we getting Metroid Dread, right?
Metroid what?
Metroid Dread.
I don't understand.
Back on like Metroid Dread was a Metroid game that was supposedly in production all the way back during like the DS days. It was like teased at the end of Hunters, I think, and never showed up.
Metroid. I've never heard of this. Just learning things. So anyway, Samus, I think, yeah, we can safely say deserved a spot.
Yeah. We've also got Yoshi, who uh, is kind of one of the newer characters on the roster. One of them, not the newest, but Yoshi went from a role as a power up in Super Mario World to starring in Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Story on the Nintendo 64.
I
Um,
think you could debate his inclusion a little bit.
I
I
think you
think
could, yeah.
I wouldn't. Like, I think he's fine. He's one of the more iconic Mario characters, and the series was bigger at the time, so it makes sense.
Right. Like, yeah, yeah. Yoshi's inclusion makes sense, but he's definitely out of the original eight. I would say he's the most expendable uh, at the time, and honestly, still today.
Yeah, you could have justified Bowser or Peach over Yoshi, even though they don't have their own
Right.
games.
And I mean, he also did get arrested for tax evasion, which that's a whole
So,
controversy.
yeah. You know when he gets
um.
out? I don't think he
Oh.
gets out for like 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what
No,
I
I think
heard.
it's gonna be
So,
like. I mean, that's why they delayed Yoshi's Flipping Island.
They didn't delay it;
which
they canceled it. Nothing like that's whatever. No
right.
Yoshi. I hear they're gonna reskin it as another Kirby game, like Kirby's Epic Yarn, except not Yarn.
Right. Um, Speaking of Kirby, he's the
Right.
the next character on the roster in chronological order. Uh, you know, he's Kirby, all right.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't debate his inclusion.
Right. I mean, Kirby would be in this game even if Masahiro Sakurai hadn't developed it, but also Sakurai invented Kirby. He's,
Right.
Sakurai's invention, and he's also a character who, both in his own franchise and in Smash, has this sort of role of being like for beginners, for newcomers to gaming and to Smash, which is sort of why Kirby, like, A, has a feature that lets you kind of demo everyone else's moves, and B, he has that fucking rock that everyone spams when they're starting out as a Smash player.
Oh man, that's true. Truer words have never been spoken. So you're telling me there were only 12 characters in this original base game, and Sakurai
Yep.
put Kirby in? Sakurai bias.
Yeah. It's not, I
No,
mean,
it really isn't.
right. Yeah, like Kirby definitely warranted a spot for his successful games on the Game Boy, the NES, and the Super Nintendo. Uh, and I'm not actually sure if Crystal Shards had released by this time. I know Sakurai was like only kind of involved in that project. Like he was the
It had
voice of King
not.
Dedede.
It had not. That came out in
Yeah.
2000.
Oh, okay. And then we've got Fox, who, as you'll recall, was one of the first characters in the initial demo of the game. Star Fox, started on the Super Nintendo and was one of the earlier launches on the Nintendo 64. And it had also had Star Fox 2, which never released yet. It released recently, which is neat.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think if I had to make a 12 roster Smash Bros. Today, say it got a huge reboot, only 12 characters, I don't think I'd even consider putting Fox in. But at the time, Star Fox hadn't fallen so far from grace, so it makes
I
sense.
mean, Star Fox, or Fox himself, occupies a certain niche in Smash Brothers' roster. With his speed and projectiles. He's got that really unique playstyle that, like, I do think could use an update. I kind of wish Fox, in retrospect, had gotten kind of the Mega Man treatment of having projectiles in his neutral attacks rather than just his special move.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, Star Fox is one of Nintendo's most important mascot-driven franchises. Like, Star Fox...
It
Like,
was. I could name 12 characters who would be a better choice for a modern Smash 64 than Star Fox. You
I
know?
mean, like, modern, yeah, like, Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing and Splatoon even, and, like, other
Yeah.
options exist. But, like, even in the modern day, like, Star Fox is not a dead series. It's still, like, a franchise that Nintendo treats with a lot of hype, even when the game that they're hyping might not end up being so great when it comes
It
out.
might be comatose. You say it's not dead, it might be comatose after Star Fox Zero.
I mean, I don't think we know yet. I don't think enough time has passed.
I mean, Star Fox Grand Prix didn't show up at E3. I don't know
That
if that means that it's not happening,
right.
or maybe it's just
Yeah,
been delayed. I believe something similar happened with the Rabbids
maybe.
game, actually, where it didn't show up when they
Sure.
predicted. So maybe there's still some hope, but I don't know.
Maybe. So besides Fox, our final starting character is the babiest baby on the roster. It's from the Pikachu from the then brand new Pokemon series.
Really? It was
Yeah,
brand new
like,
then?
I mean, Pokemon Red and Blue, I believe, released in either 96 or 97, and Smash Brothers came out, or was it started development in '98 and released in '99. So that's
success.
only a couple of years.
And I know the anime was already out and huge by this point.
Right. Like, the reason Pikachu warranted a spot was because Pokemon, like, very quickly was enormously successful.
And it's actually the biggest media franchise of all time. Like, second place is Star Wars, and above that is Pokemon.
I believe it.
No, like, that's a fact. Like, look it up. It generates more money than any other media franchise ever. Like, it's...
Oh, generates more money. I thought, like, in terms of content. Like, even that, I believe, with all the fucking trading cards and how long the show's been going, like...
Right. So, basically, it's the most successful franchise.
Right.
Which is huge, you know, that's a big deal.
It definitely is. I can't imagine a Smash 64 without Thundermouse. Thundermouse.
Yeah.
But you know who I can imagine Smash 64 without?
Oh boy.
The unlockable characters. Of which there are 4. Luigi is the most prominent, and he is he's a Mario clone. Let's be real here. He's a Mario clone.
Like, he wouldn't be a total Mario clone probably, and his proportions will be a little off. But I think you could justify having put Wario in instead of Luigi at the time. As sort of like a Mario semi-clone. Like, I think you could have justified that, because this is coming off like Wario Land.
I guess. Yeah. Like, Wario Land was definitely a thing at the time.
This is around the time of Wario, you know, rising up through the ranks. Right. Luigi didn't have his own game except for Mario is Missing, and that sucked, and his name wasn't even in the title. So...
Okay.
Luigi hadn't proven himself at this point yet. Not completely, I don't think.
I mean, Luigi definitely did not have a distinct personality at the time. That's one of the interesting things about Luigi, is that a lot of his personality actually comes from Smash 64. I don't know if you know that, but, like, before this game, Luigi was just Mario's player 2. He was just the second Mario. Right. And, like, immediately after Smash 64, like, Luigi's Mansion gave Luigi so much more personality, made him, like, so much more his own character, and a lot of that character was based on the Smash Brothers Luigi and his sort of cowardly second banana kind of attitude.
Right. I mean, I would still credit Luigi's Mansion as being, like, the significant defining Luigi personality game.
Sure.
But Smash 64 laid the groundwork for that, yeah.
And I mean, like, following Luigi's Mansion, I would also say that Mario and Luigi does a lot for Luigi's personality as well. He's definitely a character who has come a long way. But I would say that Super Smash Brothers was one of the first steps to making Luigi.
Right, absolutely. The first step, I guess. Well, actually, there is a commercial for Mario Bros, the one with the crabs and pipes and such.
Right.
Where Luigi actually does have his cowardly personality, and there's like a song, and the finishing line of the song is like Luigi cowardly screaming, "Mario, where are you?" And it's like, this is very Luigi's Mansion-esque.
Right.
So, that commercial...
So maybe there's a little bit of influence there.
I mean, I actually don't think there's much influence in like
not.
A Western commercial, but it's cool. It's interesting to think about. That was the first instance of his cowardly personality.
I mean, if Western commercials influenced, like, Nintendo canon, you know...
Yeah.
No. Fucking Octoroks, Levers, and Tektites 2.
I know. And, like,
Breath of the Wild should have had rap music in it. Cats should have been a rapper.
Yeah, and just, like, commercials in general. Zelda could be, like, a dance game now, you know?
Right.
Like, you don't know.
So, there's also Captain Falcon on this roster, who, like, is another weird situation where Smash influenced him pretty much entirely. Prior to Super Smash Brothers, Captain Falcon was, like, only seen in manuals and as like a vague silhouette in the sprite of the
Right.
what's the name of his fucking
The Blue
car?
Falcon.
The Blue Falcon. That's it. I almost called it the Big Blue, which is not what he is.
I almost called it the Millennium Falcon.
And I mean, we knew that Captain Falcon was a bounty hunter, and we had seen the pistol strapped to his belt, which he still never uses.
Does he
Super
have that in
Brothers,
Smash 64?
Yeah, he does.
Or, I
I'm
mean,
looking
Smash
at it right
4,
now.
I meant.
Oh, I don't know if he... I'm sure he still has it in Smash 4. I can look up his render.
Oh, he does. He does.
Okay. So, Captain Falcon was clearly added in order to make use of the original, like, demo moveset when Sakurai was, like, trying to figure out what it takes to be a Smash Brothers character, what type of moves characters
yeah, but
can
I would
have.
say his inclusion is still justified beyond that, because at the time, his series was actually alive.
Yeah, I mean, F-Zero was one of the major launch titles of the Super Nintendo, and in a lot of ways, the Smash 64 roster, represents the Super Nintendo, and kind of the Game Boy as well, at least with a couple of its characters.
And now Captain Falcon is like almost the mascot for Smash.
Right, like Captain Falcon at this point is practically a Smash Brothers character. Which I think is a fitting legacy, given that in this game he was also a Smash Brothers character, basically.
Right.
But like he definitely warranted a spot as far as representing. I mean, also there was the N64 F-Zero game, F-Zero X, I want to say. I'm not a huge F-Zero fan, so I don't know.
Me neither, but
specifically. There's also Ness, who is another really weird choice, which like I appreciate. I love having these.
I appreciate
weird
it too,
characters.
but I never would have gone that route.
Right, and I mean Ness is the protagonist of Earthbound, the Super Nintendo RPG, which is weird. It was a quirky game that sort of flopped in the U.S., mostly due to its price point and its advertising campaign being very like, this game stinks!
Oh, and they had the scratch and sniff stickers.
They had the scratch and sniff Mr.
Yes.
Belch.
Honestly. I don't even think it's that bad of a marketing campaign. I think it's interesting. I just hate that it didn't catch on.
It was a fine marketing campaign for something that didn't also cost a shitload of money, which Earthbound did because it was only available in this big axe box with the instruction manual and a bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
It's like if there was only a special edition of the next fucking Bethesda game or something, and not like a regular edition.
It's very 90s.
It's
the
very
advertising
90s.
campaign around it, which is appropriate.
Earthbound itself is very 90s.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, at least in 1994, I believe, so it adds up.
But do you believe that Ness warranted a spot? Do you think that he earned it?
I can think of a character or two that I would have put over him. I'm not disgusted by his presence. I'm not like, oh, I can't believe Sakurai wasted a spot on him. And I don't think I would have been at the time.
Right.
So it's like, should he be there? Like, does he need to be there? No. But can he be there? Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. And then we've got Jigglypuff, who is probably the most overall contentious Smash Brothers pick. Our second Pokemon is, kind of based on Kirby's moveset, and also kind of just a weird pick overall. Jigglypuff is not, like, a major Pokemon as we would currently think of major Pokemon.
I believe she was big in the anime at the time, if I remember correctly.
Big insofar as she was a recurring supporting character. There was a Jigglypuff in the anime that would follow Ash and the gang around and sometimes sing and then get mad and draw on everyone's faces and then walk away, and then the rest of the episode's plot would continue.
Right.
Is the whole deal with Jigglypuff.
She was existent is the point, though. Like, she was
Right.
a thing.
But, like, there were other Pokemon that were more prominent. I mean, all three of the starters, especially Charizard, were like, huge at the time.
Right.
And are still pretty prominent today. Also, Mewtwo was extant, and was even planned. In fact, Bowser, King Dedede, and Mewtwo, Sakurai has gone on record on saying they were considered and even partially implemented for Super Smash Bros. Before being scrapped. And then, of course, there's Meowth, who, has a major, main character role in the anime as essentially Team Rocket's equivalent to Pikachu.
Right. Who was
and-
originally going to be in, Smash 64. If I remember correctly.
That's actually an unsubstantiated rumor. There was no evidence to suggest that Meowth was planned.
Really?
Really.
I feel like...
In fact, I've got Source Gaming's definitive list of unused fighters in Smash right here. And it does seem that the only characters who were scrapped from the original Super Smash Bros. Were Marth, Bowser and King Dedede, and Mewtwo. Final Smashes were also planned for the game. But they're in their misinformation section, they cover the fact that Sigurd, Meowth, Pit, and Peach, despite there being claims that they were planned from the fandom, there seems to be no evidence to support this.
Okay. Alright, well, good. Learn new things.
Right?
Got that rumor out of my system. More confirmed.
Now, besides these 8, there are some non-playable characters in Super Smash Bros. 64. In fact, there are, according to the Smash Bros. Wiki, which counts things in a certain way, there are 4. Do you want to guess who those 4 non-playable characters are?
Master Hand.
Yup.
Was Sandbag in at the time?
Nope, there was no stadium mode.
Okay.
Or, well, I guess there was Break the Targets and Board the Platforms.
We're not counting Metal Fighters, right?
Metal Mario is actually one of the non-playable characters.
I was going to guess that.
The Metal Box was not a thing yet. You could not play as Metal Mario.
The Wire Fighters, whatever.
Yeah, the Fighting Polygon team, which actually was the full roster, but none of them had special moves, and they were, just represented as their base polygons.
And I couldn't tell you who else.
The final non-playable Smash 64 character was Giant Donkey Kong.
Oh. That doesn't count.
It kind of counts. Again, this was before, the Super Mushroom was not an item in Smash 64.
Actually, I think all the event modes might have had a mode where there was, a giant Donkey Kong that you're facing off against. Is that just my imagination?
I'm not sure that every, one of those has had that, but Giant Donkey Kong is, a thing, kind of a King Kong reference, I guess.
Not quite achieved the lofty heights of Giga Bowser in terms of influence, but whatever.
Right. Smash 64 also had 9 stages. Peach's Castle, Congo Jungle, Hyrule Castle, Planet Zebus, Yoshi's Island, Dreamland, Sector Z, and Saffron City are the starting stage roster, and each one of those is from the 8 franchises that are on Smash 64's starting character roster. And then Mushroom Kingdom is the only secret stage. Excluding though... Right.
It's a sensible list, I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of the designs for these stages are strange. I definitely can't see something like Peach's Castle, which is kind of just a weird mishmash of platforms, being a Smash Brothers stage nowadays. But, it worked for the time. Uh,
Actually, I hear complaints a lot that some of them look like cardboard, like very two-dimensional, and it makes me think Newport City, the background was cardboard and the platforms were all thrown about like they hadn't played the game, much like some of Smash 64's stages.
hmm.
So,
I mean, like,
eh,
I've also heard and seen that the Smash 64 stages kind of look like cardboard, but I actually think that that's an intentional choice. It's sort of a service to the game's premise, which, believe it or not, is not that, Nintendo characters have come together to beat the crap out of each other. The premise of Super Smash Bros. 64 regards a child playing with action figures, as seen in the game's intro. All
well,
of
they were dolls.
the right. I mean, like dolls, trophies, figures. These are all equivalent. And I mean, like, definitely the way that Sakurai creates Smash Brothers characters is by playing with action figures. So I can't help but feel like that's the intent. But like the characters in Smash are, animated figures of Nintendo characters. So
Right.
having the stages be sort of, you know, um, like dioramas, basically,
I'm glad
makes
they
sense
ditched
in
that.
that context.
I'm glad they ditched that canon.
I'm, I don't know how I feel about that
Like, I
necessarily.
much prefer the epic feel that Melee and Brawl really help propagate in Smash. You
I
know?
mean, Melee and Brawl carried that same premise.
Sort of, not quite. Melee, I
I
guess the
mean,
opening intro had the hand that threw
that's
Mario, but
right.
it's handled a bit differently. But then Brawl's
I
canon,
mean, Brawl's canon
totally
is
different.
not at all. Brawl's canon is explicitly the same.
You could
That's the
argue that
story of the that's the story mode, dude. In like the way that the story mode was revealed for Smash Bros. Brawl was like in this world, trophies fight. And it shows the Mario trophy coming to life and fighting.
yeah,
You
but it's
know,
still handled a bit differently. It's not like this kid is
like
playing with these dolls, and those dolls are becoming these Nintendo characters.
I guess, but
It's
like
more
I
like
mean,
these actual Nintendo characters. You're actually playing as the actual Nintendo characters who exist in this
I
strange world.
not really. You're playing as a trophy of Mario who has come to life. In Smash Brothers Brawl and before. Super Smash
Uh,
Brothers 4 and
I don't think I agree with
onwards
that.
have that lore change. Like, no, it's explicit in the story mode. It's not something you have to agree with because it's a fact. It's like something that Sakurai
No,
specifically said in the game itself.
no. I think it's more that these Nintendo characters exist in this world. That's
I mean, like, okay,
where
you're
they
allowed
turn
to
into
have
trophies.
this headcanon, I suppose, but like it's not
Like,
true.
I see the parallels between 64 and Brawl's story mode, but do I think it's actually the same thing where, like, in Brawl, these characters are supposed to be, like, figures or toys that are being played with? No, I don't think that's part of the canon. It might be, like, a little nod or a parallel, but I don't think that's actually
I mean,
part of the
when was
Subspace
the
Emissaries canon.
when was the last time you played the Subspace Emissary? Because like a lot of it is about turning these like living trophies back into trophies. And trophies, by the way,
Eh?
introduced in
What?
Melee, like
Wait. It's kind of
in.
backwards. It's the other way. You're turning the trophies
I mean,
back into the
it's
living things.
it's both. It's the when Mario is introduced in the Subspace Emissary, when the subspace in like the first cutscene of the Subspace Emissary, he is brought to life from a trophy, and like one of the main weapons that the Subspace Army uses is those big cannons with the trophy-fying arrows that essentially kill the characters by turning them into trophies.
Right. I mean, with the villains, it's more about turning them into trophies. With the heroes, it's more about avoiding trophification.
Right.
But yeah,
Anyway,
off on a
uh,
little tangent.
right. Um, so if you were to change Super Smash
We
Bros.
want to talk about
64's
the
roster,
changes we made to the
yeah,
roster. You can
yeah,
go
what would
first.
you
Oh,
Okay,
me?
all right.
Okay, you. No,
Yeah,
you.
all right.
After you.
So
Yes.
I know that Sakurai said that the unlockable characters were all chosen because they could be based on the existing roster, and I kind of disregarded that for my picks, uh, just because it kind of felt unnecessarily limiting. Um, but like, still keeping 12 characters, still keeping 8 main characters and 4 unlockables. I actually kept the starting roster the exact same. I can't think of anyone who at the time was more prominent than Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu.
Okay.
But as for the unlockables, I kept Ness around. Rather than Captain Falcon, I decided Little Mac could appear instead. Captain Falcon definitely has his reasons to appear, but Punch Out was another franchise that was alive and well at the time, and unlike F-Zero, it's one that dates back to the NES, and even before then. Um, but also, there was a Super Nintendo one. It was still a living franchise. And in all honesty, I just kind of prefer it. I'm not a huge F-Zero fan. I would not have picked
Right.
the guy who spends all his time in a race car. I would have picked, the guy who
And you could
is
still
known
rep
for
that
combat.
you could still rep that generic punch fighter move set with Little Mac.
Basically,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
It'd be different, I would not. I don't think Little Mac's moveset would be as fleshed out as his Smash 4 one. But, it would still be something. Um, Instead of Luigi, I chose Bowser, who, as we discussed, was planned, and I thought having one major antagonist on the roster kind of made it feel a little more, without Bowser, Smash 64's roster is all a bunch of good guys beating each other up for no reason.
That's true.
And having a bad guy there, at the very least would serve to make the one-player mode a little more engaging in a certain kind of way.
Are we not doing this where we have to have the same number of clones? Or clone characters, basically?
I mean, I
That's what I
didn't
did.
really, I didn't really do that for Smash 64's, but I did.
Okay.
Although I don't know if we're actually going to have time to discuss Melee in this episode.
Yeah, no, I was going to bring up we already have a full episode. But, yeah.
We kind of thought, since neither of us were that familiar with Smash 64, we wouldn't have that much to say on it, but turned out
We
we
do.
kinda did.
We got... yeah.
So maybe we'll hold off on Melee, save it for another time.
Right. So Bowser makes sense.
Right. And then the final character I chose was Meowth instead of Jigglypuff for the reasons I went over earlier. Meowth is one of my favorite things about the Pikachu and Meowth rivalry, besides the fact that they're cat and mouse, is that Pikachu is number 25 in the Pokedex and Meowth is number 52. I always thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't... This roster, it's serviceable.
Right.
But I really don't appreciate Captain Falcon not being in the game.
I mean, from a modern day perspective, it feels
I understand.
sad,
Back then it would have made more sense.
It would have made about as much sense, at least.
I understand.
Um,
Meowth over Jigglypuff, yeah, that's sensible.
So, what about
I don't know
you?
where you got that extra development time to squeeze in Bowser, though. Instead of recycling Mario with Luigi.
Right. Yeah, I pulled it right out of my butthole.
Okay, well. So with my roster, I only changed 2 characters. So, I replaced Luigi, you might have guessed based on what I said last time. I replaced him with Wario. Because I feel like at the time, Wario Land, Mario Land 3, it's just, he was rising up in the ranks at that point. He was a much more popular character then than he is now, even. And I think it makes sense to include him over Luigi, considering Luigi was just a player 2 who didn't actually have much of a personality and was essentially, truly just Green Mario at the time. And Wario could still be something, he could still be derivative of Mario. just serve as like a heavier, stronger, slower version of him. Which I think makes more sense than Luigi was, who was just basically a straight clone without much differences.
Right.
So,
An
I
Echo
think,
Fighter.
and he's like you said, yeah, and like you said, there's no villains. Wario isn't quite his role changes. Like he's a star of his own games, but he still serves that villain role because he's been a villain before. So I think he adds that to the table. So that's my reasoning there. And then the other choice I made, Ness. I wouldn't have included Ness, even though I appreciate his inclusion. I went with Banjo-Kazooie.
Right.
Because at the time, Nintendo did own the property. They were a second-party company. Banjo-Kazooie had released before Smash. Banjo-Tooie was in development. I might have released before Smash, I'm not sure.
Nah.
But, no. I think it was the year after, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that's a critically acclaimed game. One of the more famous games in 64. I think it would have made sense to include them over NES, to be honest. And I think that people would have appreciated that inclusion much more, like in the grand scheme of things, than they did NES's inclusion. And who knows, maybe they'd still be, more synonymous with Nintendo nowadays, instead of up there with Microsoft.
Right.
Doing their nuts and bolts, crappy spin-offs. So yeah. And I actually, I stick with Jigglypuff, because for one thing, I'm trying to, think I'm the game developer. Jigglypuff, similar proportions to Kirby, right off the bat, if you know those two characters, you're going to make the comparison regardless of Smash, probably. So,
right.
I'm thinking I'm working like Sakurai did, limited development time. I can sort of use some resources I did on Kirby on Jigglypuff, and I think she's interesting as not only a surprise character, but kind of a joke character, which is something that wouldn't have been here otherwise.
The other thing that Jigglypuff brings to the table is that she's an aerial fighter. She's focused on the air, which still in Smash Brothers is not a particularly common thing, despite it being a platform fighter. Right.
Yeah, you're right. We need more of those.
Right. For example, Dixie Kong.
Shameless plug.
But as far as Banjo and Kazooie go, I don't think the development time would have worked out. Smash Brothers might have released after Banjo Kazooie did, but they were in development at the same time, and Banjo Kazooie was made by a Western developer, and I can't imagine that.
Right, but this is if I'm the developer.
Fair.
That's the premise. And it did release let me see, June 29th, 1998 was when Banjo-Kazooie released.
Right.
And Smash released in 1999, September. That's...
the other thing also, again, this is a counterpoint that only makes sense if we're talking about, Sakurai, but Banjo-Kazooie was never initially released in Japan. It was a Western exclusive.
Very much a Western thing, yes. But again, I'm the developer, so...
Right. And
I still think it's more justifiable, honestly, than NES is.
Sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
Mother was another series that was, living at the time and did have a... because Earthbound 64 was in development at the time.
Right. That got killed.
Right. But I love Banjo-Kazooie. I'd be happy to see Banjo-Kazooie in Smash, even still today, even though, that's obviously not going to happen. Unless it does. Unless it does.
Yeah, I don't expect them. It's Simon Belmont. That's the only third party I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm even more okay with? No third parties at all.
I do want Simon Belmont.
Yeah, okay.
He looks like if they use the original design, which is the only way I want him, then I can basically play as He-Man in Smash.
If they use the Captain N design, then you can basically play as Launchpad McQuack in Smash.
What? Oh my god. Ugh. Ugh! Ugh! Like, I've seen this. I'm looking at it. I've seen this character in Captain N before, but I didn't know that was supposed to be Simon Belmont.
Oh yeah, that's Simon Belmont, dude.
Ugh. No.
He's basically Johnny Bravo.
Screw that. No. He-Man Belmont or no Belmont.
Right. Did you have anything else to say about Super Smash Brothers? I mean, I'm trying to find what the items were in that game, because the item selection was really limited.
I know they have the bumper and Pokeballs.
Yeah.
That's all I know that they had for certain.
Okay. Barrels, beam swords, bombs, Lynx bombs, I guess, are on this list for whatever reason. Bumpers, capsules, crates, fan, egg, fire flower, green shell, hammer, heart container, home run, bat, maxim tomato, motion sensor bomb, pokeball, ray gun, red shell, star rod, and superstar were the items in the original Super Smash Brothers.
I mean, we got a star rod and a maximum tomato.
Right.
Sakurai bias.
Sakurai bias, I get it.
Right.
That's a pretty, like, basic item selection. Those are still, like, mostly the most basic items in Smash.
Do they make up items anymore? Like, the fan and the beam sword and the motion sensor bomb are basically ass pulls. But, like, I don't think they do that.
I know Brawl had the cracker launcher.
Oh, I love that one. But Smash 4... that needs to come back. But Smash 4, I don't think, did anything new.
See.
Smash Ultimate has the fake Smash Ball, but eh.
I mean, Smash Ultimate also has the Black Hole Bomb, which I don't think is in other... Let's see.
Might be Kid Icarus, Kid Icarus reference, but yeah, you might be right. That's still basically just Palutena's Final Smash.
Let's see. Smash Brothers Brawl had the Gooey Bomb.
It's from Mega Man.
Timer.
It's from Mega Man, the Black Hole Bomb.
Oh, the Black Hole. It's just called the Black Hole in Smash. I think it's got the... like... It looks like an original design to me. Also, the Healing Field is a new item.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
But it does not look as though Smash 4 had any new items that are from Smash. It looks like Brawl and Smash Wii U does.
Too busy putting in all those Kid Icarus items. Sacrifice.
Oh, you know what? There are 2 items on this list that are listed as being new to Super Smash Bros. 4 and with the Smash Bros. Series logo.
Okay.
And that's custom parts and stat boosts.
Oh, fuck that. That doesn't count.
It sure doesn't.
Yeah, no. Okay, well.
Yep.
So much for items.
Right. I mean, Smash
I feel like
Brothers...
we didn't do the stage talk enough. Like, we could have gone over which stages we probably would have chosen.
Sure. I mean, like, I'm okay with the Smash... I guess
too late now.
Yeah. I don't know. Smash Brothers 64's stages, a lot of them are kind of weird. And, like... I mean, Saffron City's good. I'm really glad Saffron City's back in Smash Ultimate.
I don't care. I don't care about any of the 64 stages, except Yoshi's Island.
Was Yoshi's Island particularly good?
Yes. You could go to the floating clouds that were on the very edges of the stage, and you really had to have skill to reach them. It was good. Okay. I enjoyed it.
That's fair. It looks nice. I like the V shape. That's kind of neat. Something that most stages don't have. Alright. Well,
I think that about covers it.
Yeah, I guess, we said at the top we were going to talk about Melee, but we've got a pretty much a full episode now.
Hey, if we spend an hour and a half almost talking about Smash 64, then how long is it going to take us to discuss these other games?
Fucking while. But, like, that's probably not going to be the next episode. I'm sure there's going to be some other new episodes with some other concepts in between then and now. I did want to mention, in case that some of our listeners aren't aware, if you go to the Super Smash Bros. Website at www.smashbros.com, not only can you find videos and images of all 68 Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Fighters. There's also the Super Smash blog, which updates like daily, maybe, except not today and not on weekends, and sort of daily, maybe daily. But it
This
has
ain't
like
no dojo.
it's not quite the dojo it looks like,
Or
but
even
it
the pick
does
of the day.
have. It does seem to have some kind of spotlight on certain items, certain characters. It shows, some of the new content.
The
Uh,
14th, it had the Alolan Vulpix. Pretty cool.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's actually like 2 images of it that look pretty nice. And on the 13th, it had the launch star. So like, if you want to keep up to date on Super Smash Bros. News, and you don't want to wait for us to record and then edit and then publish this podcast, I recommend checking out the Super
Yeah.
Smash blog, because if anything new gets shown, it'll probably get shown there.
And listen, like, forget all that stuff, because they upload music. Remixes.
They
new
do
remixes that it has.
also have new music uploaded on the site.
There is
says,
a Brinstar Depths remix that is heavenly, godly, divine, any similar synonym you want to come up with. It's perfect. I love it. There are violins! Brinstar Depths, but with violins. I can't wait.
Right. And actually, in our last episode, instead of our typical Gerudo Valley music, I started the episode with the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate main theme.
Right.
And I don't know which I'm going to use this time. But who knows? Maybe as more music gets shown, the music that I use for the intro and outro will change.
Well, I know what I want you to use.
Is it the Prince Star
Brinstar
Depths theme?
Depths. Yes.
All right. Well,
The remix.
it's a good song.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about like some of our listeners' moveset or character suggestions?
Do we have any?
Well, there was one that I'm kind of saving. Let me scroll through. It's from my same friend Ring, who gave us Omega or Zeta Metroid last time.
Right.
At the same time, he also suggested Citrus Lump.
Eh?
Citrus Lump. So the concept that Ring proposes is for there to be a character who is an orange or a mango
From Pikmin?
from Pikmin 3, being carried around by Pikmin. So there would be like, moves where the Pikmin would roll the orange over foes, would like lift it and swing it. It would essentially be a way to have the Pikmin as a character, as a collective group, without having Olimar commanding them.
I don't even think that's like... I don't agree with that idea. I think you definitely need to have Olimar commanding them. That's the point. Like, they're not capable
Right.
fighters on their own.
Okay, so you think this is a bad newcomer suggestion then?
I think it's hilarious in concept, but actually putting this into Smash, just no way. It'd be like the worst character they ever added.
Fair.
Because, like, I'm sorry, but, like, the symbiotic relationship between Olimar and Pikmin is huge. Like, that's the big emotional ending of Pikmin, the original Pikmin. Is that they didn't know how to fight for themselves, and Olimar sort of taught them to, but then when he comes back in Pikmin 2 and 3, they're still... they kind of dwindled in population.
Right.
So...
Okay.
Yeah. And, like, why the
So
citrus? Is it just the name?
I-
Is it because it's
I
funny?
guess. Maybe. Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Like, I wouldn't limit it to that.
Like, I kind of agree. I think Citrus Lump is a funny but not particularly good suggestion.
Like, I would be furious if this got into Smash Bros. Like, if they wasted the
Furious.
development time on this. Yeah.
Sick with anger.
Furious, outraged, sick with anger.
Right.
Sorry, but, you only get points with me if you get the exact quote.
Right.
In full.
That's fair.
Speaking of Girahim, well, actually, you know what? Never mind.
No, wait, go
That'll
ahead.
come one day. No, that'll come one day. That
No,
rant
go
will come in the
ahead, go
future. It's not
ahead.
going to happen today. This episode's gone on long enough. That day will come.
Okay.
We'll talk about it
We
one day.
should. Maybe our next episode should just be us talking about some of our most controversial Smash Brothers opinions.
Maybe we could also do it.
We could talk
do
about
an assist trophy
Girahim and
episode.
King K. Rool.
Right. I think we should
Sure.
do an assist trophy episode.
We can do that too. Anyway, I think that's just about an episode for us. Also, I had a new idea for our sign-off that we could do. If you want to entertain that idea.
Sure.
I think rather than just saying, sayonara, I think we should end each episode by saying, good game.
Good game. Yeah, it'll work for now.
Alright, well, good game.
Good game.